Last night was the first race of the 2023 NASCAR season. It was an exhibition race, the preseason race, the Busch Clash at the LA Coliseum. Drivers had their thoughts on the race. Fans had their thoughts on the race, of course, but Martin Truex Jr. was the winner. But today we have some news. There was a lot of news over the weekend on Saturday and even before the race yesterday on Sunday that we weren't able to talk about because we were focused on the race weekend, obviously, but that's why we're here today. LA Coliseum race is done, as I said, so let's stay in Southern California and talk about Auto Club Speedway. Auto Club Speedway's 2023 races in just under 3 weeks. The first race after the Daytona 500, and that starts off the West Coast swing where we hit Fontana, Vegas, Phoenix. Well, as I'm sure as many of you are aware, as you can see by this thing here, Auto Club is soon to be a short track. They are going to get rid of the 2-mile D-shaped oval and turn it into a half-mile short track. This has come with some mixed reviews from fans. You know, a lot of fans want to see more short tracks, and people are saying, yes, another short track. But some people are saying Auto Club is such a great track, and after the race we got last year with how good that race was, why are we getting rid of this good track, this really good track that's in its first attempt at the next-gen cars has proven that, you know, it's worthy of a race? Well, there's more news to it, and that is that there will not be an Auto Club race in 2024. The plan was that Auto Club would get converted to the short track, and it would be able to be up on the calendar. So they'd run the race in February here, and then they'd tear it down, start building the half-miler, and be ready for 2024. That is now not the case. The Auto Club track president, Dave Allen, said that even with the most aggressive timelines, any renovation project would not be completed in time for a 2024 race. So NASCAR will not have a Fontana race in 2024. Really unfortunate, obviously. As I said, mixed reviews on what is happening to that racetrack. I've got mixed feelings about it. Obviously, there was such a good race there last year. If there's another great race this year, I'm going to feel a little sad to be losing that track. But at the same time, I do want to see more short tracks. I think they got to fix the short track package a bit with the next-gen car, but you know, it is mixed feelings, I would say. And then after that, the next question is, what do you replace it with? What do you replace Fontana with? Don't think NASCAR is going to cut back a race for 1 year to go back to 35 races. I think they're going to want to stay with 36. So who replaces Fontana? Do you add a date to a track that only has one? Do you potentially give it to the LA Coliseum? Drivers gave their thoughts last night if there were to be a points-paying race at the LA Coliseum, and they didn't seem too eager about it, just with how, I guess, aggressive last night's race was with all the spinning and the crashing and the bumping into each other. That was really the only way to pass. And drivers just felt like there was a lack of respect. I think Kyle Busch, those are the words he used, and you know, they want something different. They don't want that to be a points-paying race. For an exhibition race, yeah, so what? I kind of said the same thing last night. It's like, it's an exhibition race. It's for fun. So what? But if you make this a points-paying race, I'm not sure about that. If they want a race in the LA area to replace Fontana, I really don't know tracks in LA that well, so you'd have to come up with something. I don't think they can last minute come up with a street course. So if you can't run Fontana, I just think you're going to have to deal with not having an LA race in the points races next year unless you want to keep the Coliseum for the Clash. And then, I don't know, other potential replacements. You could potentially bring an old track back. Maybe Kentucky, I don't know. But I think one idea that could happen is there's been talk of bringing the oval back at Indianapolis. Indianapolis has been running the road course for 2 years now. I think this year will be the third race at the road course. Some drivers were not happy about the oval being taken off the schedule. Understandable. It's a historic track, historic venue. Losing the oval was definitely hurt a bit, in my opinion. But, you know, the road course is still fun. It's been a little bit of a crap fest, but it has been a little bit fun. But I think the oval does need to come back. And, you know, if you're going to fill it in next year, and if it does well, people still like it, keep it on the calendar, adjust the calendar accordingly for both the Fontana short track and for Indianapolis maybe. That's just my opinion. That's just my guess. I guess you could say that's a guess for what it's going to be, the Indianapolis Oval, but Fontana will not have a 2024 race, which is a little upsetting, but yeah. So in 3 weeks, well, under 3 weeks, we will have our last ever Fontana 2-mile race. Well, 2-mile track. It's going to be a 400-mile race. That is all I have on Fontana. Let's move on to the next bit of news. That next bit of news is Kevin Harvick. Kevin Harvick announced just a couple of weeks ago that 2023 would be his last full-time NASCAR Cup Series season as a driver. There was no real answer at the time what he'd be doing. Would he own a team? Would he do racing somewhere else? Would he do part-time? Who knows? But there was some speculation. There had been talks before about him joining the Fox Sports booth, but he made it official last night on the pre-race show that he would be joining Fox Sports in 2024 and beyond to be in the booth with Mike Joy and Clint Bowyer. Harvick's called some Xfinity races before when they do the drivers-only broadcast for some of the Xfinity races. I think he's called a couple truck races as well. They'll throw a driver up there every once in a while. I remember Kurt Busch, he did it a lot in the last couple of years, but Kevin Harvick will be in the booth for the Fox Sports portion of the series in 2024 and beyond. I think this is good to have a permanent third full-time guy in the booth. Ever since Jeff Gordon left the booth, it's been a rotation of who has been there. They've done special guests. They've had Tony Stewart, Danica Patrick, Jeff Gordon came back for a couple races. For the Darlington race, they alternated some older NASCAR drivers who had retired. Richard Petty, I think they had Darrell Waltrip in there for that race. They had a couple of guys in there. But they've been on this rotation system. And yeah, it's fun to hear different perspectives. It's fun to hear from Tony Stewart. It's fun to hear from, Jimmie Johnson did some of the heat races last night. It's fun. But I think we need some consistency, some continuity in terms of the voices we hear. So I think Harvick to the booth is a good addition. He's done good in the Xfinity Series. He's done good with the trucks. I think it's going to be exciting to hear his perspective, and I think that's something that is also added to the booth. Clint Bowyer is a former driver, yes, but he has not raced in the next-gen car, whereas Kevin Harvick, he's going to have 2 full seasons of the next-gen car under his belt when he goes up to the booth, so he's going to be able to provide a different perspective of the racing, of the cars themselves that maybe Bowyer can't provide. I'm not saying that Bowyer has never. He has done some testing in it, but Harvick's done or will have done over 70 races in the next-gen car, and he will be able to give a more in-depth detail of everything that's going on, which I think could be a unique perspective for a fan. So I think that'll be neat. I think that'll be fun, but good for Kevin Harvick. He posted this little graphic thingy over here. Then I'm putting it over, I'm sure. But yeah, then there's the next bit of news. That is that Jimmie Johnson will be racing the Chicago Street Race. Jimmie Johnson coming back to NASCAR was a shock to most people. He is now the co-owner at Legacy Motor Club. I didn't say Petty GMS. Let's go. Anyways, though, he is a co-owner of Legacy Motor Club, and he also is in a third part-time car, the number 84. He announced that he would be running the Daytona 500 and a few other select races. And now we know what one of those other ones is. He will be running at the inaugural Chicago Street Race in July. He said in his little announcement in the Fox pre-race show, a lot of announcements during the Fox pre-race show, I know. He said that he really enjoyed the street courses when he raced in IndyCar and that he had a good time and he wanted to try it out in NASCAR. So here you go. He's going to be in the Chicago Street Course, street race, whatever you want to call it. Good for him. It's fun to see Jimmie Johnson back on track. In the Cup Series, he was never the greatest road course racer. He only had 1 road course win in his career at Sonoma back in 2010. Never won at Watkins Glen. Came close at the Roval, but he kind of wrecked himself and Martin Truex Jr. and handed Blaney the win. But it'll be interesting to see how he does. See if he learned anything from IndyCar. Obviously, you can't translate everything from your IndyCar driving to your Cup driving. Completely different cars, completely different tracks, different styles of racing, all that stuff. So it'll be a new challenge for Jimmie Johnson. It's going to be a new challenge for all the drivers on the street course, but we'll see how he does. It's going to be interesting to see what happens, but we now know another Jimmie Johnson race in 2023. No other news really other than the 3 things I just talked about. That's all I got. So Auto Club, let me know your thoughts. Are you upset about Auto Club getting rid of the 2-mile track and going to a short track? Are you excited for the short track? Are you upset there's not going to be a race in 2024? What are your thoughts on Kevin Harvick in the booth? Do you think he'll be a good addition? Do you think his perspective will be good? Do you think he's done good when he's called Xfinity and truck races? And then finally, let me know what you think of Jimmie Johnson in the Chicago street race and how well or maybe bad you think he'll do. But we'll see how that all goes. We've got some time to figure it out, obviously, but I'll see you guys in the next video. As I said earlier this week, a week from yesterday, so 6 days from now, Sunday, I will be making my full preseason preview and predictions. If anything changes, I will let you know. But thanks for watching. Hope you have a great rest of your day.